Hey guys, Unfrequented World, out in the garage this morning, and I wanted to talk about magnet fishing today, and then we're going to actually go magnet fishing. So we went yesterday for the first time ever, and did fairly well, just off an old dock, got some fishing stuff, some coins, an old boat seat, etc., videos on the channel. But I wanted to tell you guys a few things that I had learned. I am in no way an expert, obviously, seeing as I've only gone once, but I did spend a lot of time watching other people's videos, and so I just wanted to break down very quickly the most important things I'd learned if you're starting this, because it took hours to watch all these videos. So I'm going to just show you guys some quick pointers, and then we're going to actually go magnet fishing again. So I just wanted to show, here's the magnet that I bought, and it has a 295-pound pull, and I thought that would be plenty. And if you put it on a hammer or something like that, I'll show you, you cannot pull it apart. It takes pretty much all of your strength to pull it off of a hammer. However, yesterday we noticed right away that all of the stuff in the water is corroded with a nice layer of rust on there, so you don't really get that good attachment with anything. So if you haven't bought one yet, go with the magnet that has the most pull force that you can afford, would be my suggestion right off the hop. Secondly, when tying a knot for this thing, there are a million knots that you can use. I ended up going with the Palomar knot, which is it's got a double loop on the bottom here, so that if one side breaks, you're still attached, etc. You can pick. There's all different kinds of knots. But I also saw a video this morning after we went out that shows a great idea, which we're going to implement right now as well, to protect your knots and the magnet and help with another issue that we have. Quite often when you're pulling this thing in, the magnet tips up on its end and it pulls through the water like this. And that's no good, because then your magnetic side is facing out into the abyss and not dragging the bottom like this. So there are a few videos online that show guys taking pop bottles. You put your magnet in here, we're going to use the heat gun to melt it around, and that should hold the magnet in the downward facing position, as well as protect your knot system and everything, because it's all going to be in here. I'll show you guys that right now. Let's do that right now, and then we'll go out magnet fishing. Another pointer is, I just bought this, I don't know if this is a 100-pound rope or what it is. Maybe a little bit bigger rope would be, depending on what you're going after. You never know what you're going to latch onto. So we just felt that this rope was a little light yesterday. I'm going to continue to use it, but I also snorkel and have no problem going in to get my magnet if this snaps. So be wary of that. Another thing is, keep the plastic housing that comes with your rope. This is still wet from yesterday. So if you just throw this in a ball in the back of your vehicle or something like that, it's going to be wet all the time. Where if you string it out like this, it's probably going to dry a little bit better. And another pointer, put a carabiner on the end. And we were latching them right onto our belt loops yesterday, just so that when you throw the rope in, if it actually comes out of your hand, it's still attached to you, and you don't have to go for a swim. Now for this plastic bottle, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it off somewhere about here, and then we're going to put our magnet inside, and then we're going to heat it up and shrink wrap this basically around the magnet. I'll show you that right now. Just take your drill and put a hole in there so that you can feed your rope through it. Feed all of your rope through here until the magnet is sitting inside the plastic cavity here. So now we have the magnet inside, and the rope is nice and tight, and what this is going to do is keep the magnet upright like this when we're pulling it back towards shore. So we're actually dragging bottom, picking up the things that we're after. Now the last step here is to take the heat gun and heat this up so it shrink wraps down over top to keep this protected. And this is also going to serve another purpose, and that's to protect all of our knotting and everything in there. So if we get it snagged, it's going to be the outside plastic here that gets snagged on a tree branch or whatever, you know. One more thing, I don't know if I mentioned or not, but these threaded down here inside the magnet is a threaded end, and it comes apart. I don't know why they make them like that. You think it would be a solid piece, but it's not. Take it apart and put some Loctite on there, guys. The red stuff is permanent, and that's what I used. It's really good stuff, and then you never have to worry about the magnet coming off the threaded end. Okay, so we got the heat gun. It should be a fairly quick process. So there's the end process, guys. We have a shrink-wrapped magnet. And you can see my heat might have been a little high there on the bottom. It actually melted the plastic right off. But so maybe just use the number 1 setting if you have a gun that has 2 settings. But anyway, the important part is your rope is protected in here now. The magnet is going to pull along the bottom like this. Okay, so let's just see if the plastic has diminished the grabbing capabilities any here. You got to be very careful with your fingers too. Nope. That is solid as a rock. Now, like I was saying, you're going to have to twist this to get it off this hammer. There. But like I was saying, the things underwater that we were pulling out yesterday had a good layer of corrosion on them. And so you're not getting quite that much grip. So if you can, go with as strong a magnet as you can afford. That would be my advice. It's a beautiful day out there. Let's go hit the dock and see what we find. So I've come out on the old Calendar dock. I've never been here before. And you can see the old pilings in the old dock here. And you can see some nice structures and stuff out there. Probably full of fishing lures and whatever. But they've put in a railing, so you can't get out on the rocks anymore. I guess we'll go down to the dock here and just try off there. Big old snapping turtle. Just throw it out here on the dock and I'll show you guys how it lands. And it's actually working the way they advertised. It pulls in nice and flat. So the magnet is actually on the bottom when you're pulling it back. Or in this case, caught on a spike. Okay, 2 more tips that I just picked up here on the fly. It's about 12 feet down here, deep, right off the dock. There's that big, huge snapping turtle in there, and I got snagged. And so the tip I'm going to give you is don't throw the magnet in somewhere you're not prepared to jump in and get it out, because I almost didn't get this thing out. So 2 things I learned when I got snagged there. I use the same tricks that I do when I'm fishing. Always go upstream from where you're snagged and just keep pulling the rod until the line comes loose. The same thing here. So I started on that pier behind me, and I ended up walking a big U shape up to here where I am now. And when I gave it a pull in this direction, it finally came out. But I thought, oh God, I'm going to have to jump in there and get this thing out, seeing as I've only used it for an hour and a half and paid 25 bucks for it. And I really didn't want to do that, so don't use it somewhere you don't want to jump in. Secondly, this rope that I've got has a lot of stretch to it. So maybe pick a rope that, when this thing was snagged and I'm pulling on it, if it did come snapping out, it could come flying up at you if you were close enough. So before I go, there is one more tip, I guess, guys. This is a fishing tip, but seeing as we were just snagged, whenever you get snagged, you always check your fishing line just to make sure there's no nicks in it, you know, for the first couple of feet. You just run your hands over it and make sure that the rope or the fishing line hasn't been compromised. Because if it has, then you'd want to cut it off and retie the magnet on. You don't want to take a chance next time where you get a little nick in here and then you know, you get hooked on something and just the slightest pull snaps the line. So always when you get hooked on something, check the bottom couple feet, because that's what's going to rub on the rock or the log that you're caught on. Mine feels pretty good. Guys, so actually we're going to redo this. We're down at the dock, and I wanted to show you, when I took a closer look, all the plastic cracked here on the top. So that original plastic we used just wasn't heavy duty enough, or maybe we heated it too much. I'm not sure. Maybe it got brittle. So I'm going to redo it with a heavier plastic as well. Where I melted these bottoms, dirt was getting all in there, so that was really annoying too. So we're going to cut it off and redo it with a different jug. So we're going to try it again with an olive oil plastic, which feels to be about 2 or 3 times as thick as that original pop bottle style that we used. Olive oil coating that your magnet will get from using this plastic will protect it for years to come. Before I melt the plastic on there, I made sure I cleaned the bottom of the magnet off all the sand and stuff, so it's a fresh start. Alright guys, there it is, version 2. I may have cut it a little short on the back, but the whole point is to get it to sit like this, and it will. The plastic is twice as heavy now, and there's no holes in the bottom here, so I mean, hey, if you have to change it every couple of weeks, it's not a big job. It's literally a 7-minute job to find a bottle, cut it in half, put a hole in the end, and heat sink it. Lots more magnet fishing to come. Thanks for watching.